He's the director responsible for 9 Songs, the most sexually explicit film ever to get a general release in the UK. But director Michael Winterbottom is not easy to pigeonhole. Prolific and with a fascination for human relationships, he's turned his lens from the Bosnian War to the 1970s Manchester music scene. His latest film centres on the brutal murder of British student Meredith Kercher in Italy in 2007. But Face of an Angel is not a film about the crime itself, but about the intense media coverage it generated. Names have been changed. Amanda Knox becomes Jessica and Meredith Kercher becomes Elizabeth. But it remains sensitive territory for a film. So I asked Michael Winterbottom what drew him to his subject.
I think it was partly the amount of coverage, and there have been so many books written about it, TV news, TV documentaries, that the starting point was, why are people so fascinated by it? Why do so many people spend so much time watching or reading about these sort of stories?
You didn't want to make a documentary, you made a parallel film which explores mainly the media's kind of approach to the whole thing, and it's quite a dark film in some ways if you're a journalist looking in.
I mean, I think the media represent us, so it is about the media, it's about the way in which the journalist covered the case.
Wow, it's changed the style.
They're not going to make the same mistake twice, are they?
How are you feeling today, Jessica? I'm going to call that demure.
You sat through some of the trial. Did you conclude what you felt had happened?
No, and I didn't. My interest was always about the media coverage and why. I think this particular case is a very particular example. There's a huge amount of coverage, but I think in general there's a lot of coverage of crime, of trials, and what it is about that makes us interested in them. So that was a starting point. I never really felt that I could possibly know what had happened. And I think that is like one element of the story that I hope is in the film, that the journalists did become very passionate and committed, that half of them thought they were innocent, half thought they were guilty. But in a sense, like in a case like the real case, which has been on for 6 or 7 years, clearly it's impossible to know, and it becomes a kind of soap opera. And I think that's where the real heart of the story gets lost, because I think the Kercher families in the real case said very movingly that they didn't want their daughter to be forgotten, but the girl who was killed is forgotten in these stories. In these stories,
were you worried about making a film that would be possibly a problem for them, for the Kercher family? Of course,
if you're dealing with any true story, you have to kind of think very carefully about whether you should or not. But my hope with the film is that by the end of it, you're remembering that is the most important thing. That girl has lost her life. You think about the parents who are missing their daughter, and I hope that is something that comes from the film. And in a sense, it's something that was missing from the coverage of the trial, which I think the Kercher family wanted to be more in the coverage of the trial.
Strange. When I think of A Face of an Angel, I always think of Elizabeth. Do you all mean Jessica?
We all use that line for Jessica.
Jessica is like a film star,
hey.
Blank canvas, someone we project our fantasies onto.
She's the story.
Yeah, guilty or not, that's all anyone wants to read.
It's sad that Elizabeth just disappeared.
Now you're moving on to Revolution. You've teamed up with Russell Brand.
Yes. I'm assisting Russell Brand. I'm not teaming up with Russell Brand. I'm assisting Russell Brand.
You mean perhaps you can't team up with him? You can only assist.
Well, I mean, we suggested an idea about this time last year, actually, about that Russell we would do something with Russell about inequality, about what's going on in the world, about since the financial crash, why has nothing changed, and then looking back in a slightly longer historical perspective.
Is it wider even than inequality? I mean, is it about structures and how we're governed? And
well, we're in the middle of.
I mean, he's a don't vote for any of them. But in the end, will the film resolve what we should do?
I don't think you say it was going to resolve what you should do. It's certainly got it's attempting to grapple in a fairly pragmatic way with the situation now. Whether you agree with what he says about voting or not, what he wants is people to be active, to get involved. He makes people think about issues that often get left to one side.
But film is a linear system, and Russell Brand is not a linear individual.
No, well, we are in the middle of editing at the moment, so maybe you could come and help us sort out the structure of the film.
Thank you very much, Michael Winterbottom. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.